everyone, I'm Dave. Thank you for tuning in as always. Today we're checking in with Planet Labs, the Earth observation company that I used to hold and I did sell a while back because, quite frankly, I just lost confidence in the company. However, while Rocket Lab and AST Space Mobile have had absolutely massive historic runs that are taking really all the attention in the space stock area, Planet Labs has quietly had a pretty amazing run of its own, and we're seeing some signs of potentially a turnaround and some things I am really liking lately. So let's take another look at Planet stock, see what's been going on lately, why the stock has had such a massive run up, and where we think it might be going from here. If you're new here, please do consider subscribing by the end of the video. Every new subscriber is so much appreciated, and thank you as always to my channel members and current subscribers. Okay, with that out of the way, let's dive into Planet Labs. So here's the chart of Planet Labs as it looked back in October, and to be honest, it was really bleak. We had the stock do the SPAC or go public thing where it shoots up, then absolutely collapses, no surprises there. However, things continued to get worse and worse, not unexpected during the 2021-2022 stock downturn. It didn't really bounce back, though, when we saw a lot of other growth and speculative companies starting to bounce back and other space industry companies really doing well. And yeah, things were looking quite bleak. The reason for the stock fall, well, I mean, it's manifold. Of course, there's always the macro events going on, rising interest rates at the time, all that kind of good stuff. But for me, what really made me lose confidence in the company could basically be boiled down to this chart right here. So when they went public, all these companies give you projections of what they think they're going to do over the next 5-ish years. Very often, space companies don't actually meet these projections. Rocket Lab's pretty much the only one that's gotten even in the right ballpark. But Planet Labs was looking really on track for a while, basically right on in 2022, right on in 2023, in terms of the actual revenues in red versus their SPAC projection revenues. However, in 2024, things start to go off the rails a little bit. They have some modest growth, not really as much as they were projecting, and it's only worse in 2025. And then this 2026, based on a guidance that's a little bit old now from early in the year, things were just looking really bad. Revenue growth was slowing, it was flattening off, nowhere near the ballpark of what their original projection was for 2026 fiscal year, which is a little different than our regular years. But they were projecting $700-ish million, and the new projections were like 280 or something like that. Really, really rough. So what changed since then? Well, obviously things have gotten a little better because looking at the stock chart, we've gone from those $2 levels all the way up to over 13. So yeah, over a 5x for Planet as well. Finally getting a higher valuation than when they went public. Took some time, but they are now in the green if you bought on the first day of trading. So let's dive in a little bit to take a look at what's driving this remarkable turnaround. One criticism that I did tend to have with Planet and their Earth observation, and you know, it was really a big thought of mine when I sold. I think I sold for around $6, bought for like $3 or $4, maybe made a little bit of money, but you know, not as much as I could have clearly. But why I was losing confidence is Planet is basically an Earth observation company that was not focused on defense and national security, which is a little odd because defense and national security has always at least appeared to be the biggest market out there for Earth observation. And Will Marshall, the CEO, kind of had this reputation from When the Heavens Went on Sale, a few other books and media, as being kind of a space hippie in some people's words, where he has a lot of cool ideas about how Earth observation, taking a look at the planet through satellites every single day, every single square inch of the planet, could have all these interesting new applications coming from things like tracking the moisture levels in soils to helping out farmers, for helping out farmers to tracking methane and carbon emissions to see where the worst spots are for greenhouse gas emissions, and taking that data to help with climate change and all sorts of interesting different uses that didn't really lie on the obvious defense use, which is basically, tracking armies and all that kind of stuff. So this was all very cool, and I was like, sure, I'll buy in. There's got to be good uses for basically imaging the entire globe every single day. It makes a lot of sense to me, building AI on top of it and all this other stuff. Didn't really pan out. The growth on the commercial side, when you're looking at commercial customers, has just not been where we expected it would be. Meanwhile, the defense side of the market has been quite robust. We've seen a lot of geopolitical issues lately, of course, Ukraine, Russia, a lot of others. So defense and imagery has been at a premium. And I think part of the reason for this turnaround is we're going to see is that Planet's finally started to lean into the defense side of things, which is what Black Sky, another imaging company, was always focused on. And I think it really is paying dividends. So just some recent news items. First of all, Planet is shipping 2 more next-gen Pelican satellites as well as 36 Super Doves to the launch site with SpaceX rideshare coming up. So these next-gen Pelicans have a much higher resolution. They're going to be added to the Pelican constellation. They're built to provide 50 centimeter imagery across 6 spectral bands optimized for cross-sensor analysis. Basically, they'll be able to deliver much higher resolution than the older Doves and Super Doves, looking to, in the future, ultimately be able to deliver 30 centimeter resolution, which is pretty amazing. And we've seen some pictures from their new Pelicans look pretty awesome. You've seen a picture of like the Arc de Triomphe from France, and you can see it in great detail from space, which is pretty cool. So more new high capability satellites are being built and launching. That's kind of good. Planet announced a offering of basically raising capital, so issuing new shares, as well as an accompanying capped call transaction to try and reduce the dilution for shareholders. So they're raising $460 million, and while dilution is never nice, this does mean that they now are incredibly well capitalized. Makes me wonder what they plan to use the capital for, because I really didn't think they were under any sort of capital crunch, but it does provide some security. Maybe they want to make some acquisitions with it, do other things with it. They'll have a very robust balance sheet after this. So they ended the quarter prior to this announcement with something like $275 million in cash. They should now have about 700, I think, 730, 700 around there, probably closer to 700. So just a ton of cash on their balance sheet for this company that's really not burning that much money anymore. You look at a company like Rocket Lab building out Neutron, still investing heavily, burning tons of capital. Planet is much closer to, cash flow positive, adjusted EBITDA positive, those kind of numbers. Not really net income positive as of yet, but the cash burn rate has been not that high. So I was already fairly comfortable with the cash balance they did have, and now extremely comfortable. No liquidity concerns, no worries about going out of business at all for this company after this dilution event, which, never fun for the shareholders, but here's hoping they use the money well. As I was saying, some first light images from their new Pelicans. And this fleet is going to continue to launch. They also interestingly made a deal with NVIDIA to include some compute chips on these satellites, providing the capability to do computing with the images out in orbit as opposed to transmitting all the data back to the Earth, and really just getting key takeaways from these images faster and just having compute out there on the edge of space. So interesting deal, and really leaning into seeing what AI can do with this massive amount of data, this trove of images that they do have. They were also, this was a very big deal, awarded a 240 million euro contract from the German government. Now, this one is in support of European peace and security, aka defense, if you will. And I'm I'm not really a warlike person or anything like that, but if I'm an investor, I just need to see the company I'm investing in go for the biggest market for their products. And to me, that's defense right now. I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to provide defense in the face of an aggressor like we're seeing in Europe. Hopefully that's not too controversial a take for you guys. And a lot of these European countries are finding they want their own satellite imagery, their own satellites, whereas previously they were just willing to basically rely on the United States and their satellites. Now, a lot of these countries want to have their own assets up there and not just rely on someone else, which makes a ton of sense, of course. So Planet will be providing dedicated capacity and direct downlink services on Pelican satellites over these European regions. The deal also includes access to Planet Scope and SkySat data, along with AI-enabled solutions for enhanced situational awareness and maritime domain awareness. So I was pretty excited when I saw this deal. Obviously, it's a big one for Planet, and hopefully it's a sign of more things to come in the future. They did win several other awards recently, including a seven-figure expansion with the U.S. Navy, some Department of Defense deals, and a lot of defense in here, which makes me feel good because, hopefully the commercial side of things will come eventually, and the climate side of things will come eventually. I care as much as anyone about climate change and protecting the planet, but when the market's not there for it, I think the company has got to do what it's got to do. And there's nothing wrong with, providing defense services for countries out there. So, continuing on now, Planet has announced they're going to be opening a new manufacturing facility for satellites in Berlin to continue to take advantage of that European market. A lot of these European countries don't want to buy from American companies that are outside of Europe. They'd much rather buy from companies that have their manufacturing footprint in Europe. So I think this is a pretty good sign for the future for Planet as well. And right around the corner from that announcement, we did see Germany announcing that their military will be investing $41 billion in space capabilities. And, it's not the only country out there increasing their investment in space and defense. So I think another good sign for Planet on that front.
And we were very excited to have done a partnership in collaboration with Germany for some dedicated Pelicans as well. A bit like the partnership we did with Japan, except it also had data and analytics as well.
That's the 270 million.
The 240 million euro partnership, yeah. And so we're designing, building, launching satellites as well as data and analytics partnerships. We have a pipeline of other opportunities coming along that we just mentioned in our earnings is maturing very nicely, and so we're very pleased about how that business is growing, and we're pleased to have our first client in Europe, and I couldn't be more proud to do it with Germany. Mention is that we're already using AI at scale on our satellite imagery. So I give two quick examples. So we monitor 8 million square kilometers of the Brazilian Amazon every day and we do AI is looking for new roads, and new roads are normally the sign of illegal deforestation, illegal mining, illegal narcotics, and Brazil's federal police use that to do interventions. They did 3,000 interventions last year, confiscating $3 billion worth of equipment, and most importantly, reducing deforestation rates significantly by about 55%. That's an incredible step. We're doing we have scaled boat detection in South China Sea. So the U.S. Navy is buying our imagery and analytics to detect shipping activities, especially illicit activities in the South China Sea. Again, huge millions of square kilometers every day, tracking changes. That is only possible with AI on top of our imagery. Obviously, you can't individually look through all these images. But where things are going is even more exciting, potentially. We are going to see these large language models, the ChatGPTs, that technology applied to satellite imagery is going to unleash things more. It's going to do three things: speed, time to value, like get from zero to an answer fast. It's going to scale up how much area you can look in what time, and it's going to it's going to ease use. So it's going to make it easier for people who have no expertise in satellite data to get some value. And that is going to democratize satellite imagery further.
When we look at their most recent earnings call, which also resulted in a big jump to the stock price after the earnings were announced, we can see that they brought in $73.4 million in revenue. Now, 61% non-GAAP gross margin. That's actually a very strong number, surprisingly strong. So the non-GAAP gross margin numbers, very good. Adjusted EBITDA was in the positive. Of course, this is probably not including stock-based compensation and dilution and that kind of stuff. But in terms of cash burn, or EBITDA standing for, of course, earnings before interest, depreciation, amortization, taxes as well. And so that's positive. And they have a lot of multi-year annual contracts, and they're, things are kind of just looking up after this last quarter. And of course, the cash and cash equivalents had a massive bump via that dilution event we previously talked about, where they were raising like $460 million. So taking a closer look at the backlog, because generally backlog growth is a good indicator of how fast the revenue is going to grow in the future. Because if the revenue is going to accelerate in the future, first you have to see the backlog accelerate. The turnaround times on these contracts can obviously vary, but seeing a backlog number go from $214 million to $736 million. This I absolutely love, and I think it's a great sign for continued growth in the top line for Planet Labs. And we already saw the adjusted gross margin pretty strong at 60+% as well. Revenue did grow year over year, not a ton yet, but it did grow. I'm hoping that this backlog indicates that the growth will pick up. We saw from Q2 in 2025, that's fiscal year. We're now in fiscal year 26 for Planet. I absolutely hate how they do this. But anyway, 61 million to 73 million year over year. Not massive growth. That's kind of why I was down on the company, because the growth just wasn't there. But we're seeing signs it's going to pick back up. Talking adjusted EBITDA, it was last year the same time, -4 million. Now it's positive. Free cash flow of $46 million. That's pretty nice. Whereas it was -25 million same quarter last year. So things on the financial side of things seem to be trending in the right direction. Over the past couple years, we're seeing 27% year over year growth. It's decent, could be better. Obviously, Rocket Lab's delivering stronger growth numbers on the top line, not quite as strong when it comes to adjusted gross margins, but they're also investing in a lot of things. So just a bit of a difference there on that front. And yeah, EBITDA, we're seeing it's been positive now for the past 3 quarters, which is really nice to see. So what's the outlook, at least according to the company as of the last earnings call? Well, they're saying for basically fiscal year 26, we're looking at $281 to $289 million. The non-GAAP gross margin looks like it's going to fall a little bit compared to this last quarter. So we're looking at more like 55 to 57, still pretty strong. Adjusted EBITDA pretty much between -7 and 0. So I guess they're expecting some spend in the back half of this year, because I think it's been positive up to this point. And yeah, some pretty big capital expenditures. So 65 million to 75 million. Got to watch that as they build out those factories and satellites. Looking at the growth rates, because again, this is what I had so much concern with. First year was 16% growth. Then things went pretty amazing, 46% growth. That's when I was basically loving being a shareholder of this company. Of course, it fell way down to 15% growth and then 11% growth. So not only was the growth slow, it was continuing to drop, which was disheartening to say the least. So this is kind of a better visual of what was going on here. Growth rate picks up, then we slow down further. The new guidance for 26 fiscal, we're looking at 16.6% growth. So hopefully that re-acceleration continues. That's the hope. And, the backlog may be an indicator that that could be the case, as well as there's always seeming to be lots of customers on the defense side of things. And hopefully, as I said, the commercial will materialize a little bit more later in the future. Talking valuation a little bit now, price to sales has risen substantially. So we're now at 13.88 versus not that long ago, it was at 7 or 3.9 or, even in the 2s. So that's a little bit rich compared to where it was. Obviously, markets are forward looking and they're looking at the same data we are. And that's kind of why the stock has gone up so much, but not necessarily dirt cheap at these levels because of the good results they've delivered over the past few quarters. Taking some screenshots of the analyst estimates for the future, seems pretty clear to me that these need to be revised upwards. So EBIT, which is earnings before interest, without the depreciation and amortization, the analysts have been way off. So the analyst consensus was basically the gray box and the real number was the blue box. So clearly they're not projecting positive EBIT for quite a while, like over 4 more quarters, which would be surprising to me. So I do think these numbers really need to be adjusted, as well as these analyst numbers consistently looking a little bit low. Hopefully we do get that growth continuing to go upward. They were, again, having a pretty big beat in the last quarter, and hopefully that does continue. So those are some of the high level numbers for Planet Labs right now. So all in all, I think things are looking a lot better for Planet Labs. I'm pretty happy that they are looking to address the defense market in a much more focused way, and the demand does seem to be coming back. The backlog is getting built. They're getting some pretty big contracts for government, specifically that German one, and hopefully there's more to come on that front. And I see no signs of the demand for space-based defense spend slowing. So I think that's a good sign for the company, and their product has always been great. And then in the future, I would love to see the growth from the climate side of things, the commercial side of things, doing providing images to insurance companies as well as farmers and all that kind of thing. And the vision that was originally offered of changing the world for the better using this data. Hopefully, maybe it'll still come at some point. What are your thoughts about Planet? I'd love to hear. Are you a shareholder? They're really starting to win me over. I haven't bought back in yet. I do want to make a full spreadsheet DCF going over my assumptions for how much I think they'll grow in the future, what kind of margins we're looking at, what kind of revenue numbers, net income numbers, and kind of discount that back to today's level before I consider dipping a toe back into this one, because while the news is great, it has, as I said, 5x'd. So you got to be careful not to just be chasing FOMO on stocks that have done incredibly well over the past, short period of time. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, hope you found this video interesting. If you did, please do consider hitting that like and subscribe button as well. Very much appreciated. I'll check out your comments down below. Do let me know what you think about Planet Labs, any other stocks you'd like me to cover next, specifically in the space industry, and I'll be back soon with another video. Hope you guys have a great day and a great rest of the week, and I'll see you soon for the next one. Bye for now.